you can argue that men and women view sex differently. Not argue, that's pretty much observable reality. You don't need scientists and studies and okay guys, do this thing. We want to see how you can see it just from living life. If you in the bedroom, the guy's going to be doing more work. Plain and simple. Any guy knows this. Women are lazy. They'll do like cowgirl for a minute or two and then talk about how their legs are tired, and then you got to get back to work. Yo, what is happening, YouTube? It's your boy Bolo, and I'm coming to you with another video for educational purposes only. Today I want to talk about something that I seen Jacked and Stacked. Shout out to him. I think he's a pretty good channel from what I've seen. Pretty balanced and objective in his thought process, which I appreciate in this very binary school of thought in the manosphere. You either pick one side of the extreme or the other, so I can appreciate nuance. I do disagree with him on certain points, certain things that he mentioned, but I'm just gonna give you my perspective on this and try to give my take. So this is an article on medium.com called "Most Women Don't Want a Chad. Men who sleep around aren't attractive either," which obviously we know is bullshit. But we'll get more into the nuance because it's more complicated than that. Alright, I've had sex with 63 women in my life, and I've only cared about 4 of them. I once overheard this conversation in a public cafe. It was an elderly man, probably in his 70s, recounting his dating experiences to the young man he was with. Romantic, right? There's always been a double standard when it comes to the way men and women experience sex. Not a double standard, it's a different standard, okay? That's basically the way to put it. We are not the same. I need everyone to grasp this. Men and women are humans. There is not much more similarities to men and women outside of the fact that we're both humans and share most body parts. When you break down the differences between men and women physiologically, we're not anything alike. From average height, bone density, skull size, brain size. The brain matter distribution from white and gray is distributed differently between men and women. Okay, lung capacity, like everything, how muscle and fat is distributed differently in the body. You can line up a skeleton of a man and a woman and know which one is which. We are so different, more different than we are alike. So you can't have the same standard for things that are totally different. All right, if a man sleeps around, he's a player, but if a woman sleeps around, she's a slut. If a man sleeps around, he's desirable to a lot of women. Obviously, that's why he slept around. But if a woman sleeps around, she's too easy. Obviously, okay? And that's true. Like she's explaining this like there's fault where she doesn't explain any. She's not saying how this is a faulty road of logic. She's just repeating it for some reason. Oh, and my favorite, a key that can open any lock is a master key, but a lock that can be opened by any key is a useless lock. Ouch. Okay, so if you notice, she didn't explain how these sentiments are wrong, because they're not. You have to look at almost like a woman like a club. I know not to objectify, but we have to look at it that way in order to get the point across. If you have 2 clubs, like say you have in Midtown Manhattan, you've got a place on 41st and 7th Avenue. Then you got another place a couple blocks away on, 47th and 6th Avenue. Now, one place, they are very selective with who they let in. Like, hey, you can get in. You with the nice suit and the Rolex? Yeah, you can come on in. You hot 3 girls? You guys can come in. Oh, you fat one? No, sorry. Yo, you guy, you 3 nerd looking dudes? No, you're not coming in. You with the tear in your pants? Yeah, no way. Celebrities come in, right? Boom. It's looked at as a very exclusive high-end place. Like, wow, I want to get in there. That place is not easy to get into, which makes it more valuable, okay? Or at least to the people to the outside. Now you have a dive bar where you have every vagrant of society. You know, you've got thieves and all kinds of, you know, just undesirables. You've got, you know, people that look homeless. They might not be, but they look homeless in there. You know, you've got drunkards that can't control themselves. You know, you got people with all kinds of weird hairstyles and they just look unkempt. This place looks like it doesn't have any kind of standards. They just let anybody in. And that's the same thing with the woman. You have to judge her by who she is letting inside of her body and keeping around her person. If you see a bunch of riffraff, birds of a feather flock together, you would have to assume she is riffraff. Okay? If a girl is not sleeping around, but she's been with a couple, you know, guys that are doing very well for themselves, a girl that has the same body count, but it's a bunch of drug dealers and just guys that ain't got shit going on for themselves, you're gonna look at it differently. So it's the caliber and the amount, and it makes sense. So most of us can agree there shouldn't be a double standard. No, most of us do not agree, and most of the guys that say they agree are full of shit. They're just playing the nice guy to try and get in your pants and be on your good side. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a different standard, not a double standard. When shit hits the fan in public, right? Every time you see one of these crazy terrorist attacks or somebody's out shooting, you always hear about guys sacrificing themselves for people they don't even know, usually women and kids. And if there's camera footage and a guy is running away from the situation, especially if he has family there, he is called, and rightly so, a coward. And every tough guy in the comments is talking about how they woulda, shoulda, did something that he, you know, didn't do. And the women are saying, why did he run? Why is he a coward? No one is going to mention the women running away. Not a one. You know why? Because it's a different standard. They're not expected to. Why would you expect them to do that? So it's a different standard, not a double standard. Where we differ, however, is how we believe it can be corrected. Modern feminism and hookup culture say the way to balance out promiscuous men is to become promiscuous or sexually liberated women. Yeah, exactly. I think I know what she's getting at, and I would have to agree if she's going that direction. Man can't control their bodily urges, neither should we, ladies. Let's sleep with as many men as possible, stick it to the patriarchy. Now, that first sentiment, I kind of agree. Now, do I think men should be monks and never have sex and all that kind of stuff? No. But you need to really watch where you put in your willy, fellas. For multiple reasons. One, these women can be very diabolical. They can be devious. So you really shouldn't be just sticking your dick up in any of them, because they might have ulterior motives. They might, who knows? There's a lot of people dead right now because of them being a little too thirsty. She has a husband you don't know about, a boyfriend that you don't know about. Maybe you're living a less than ideal lifestyle and she knows the guys that you don't like and now she sets you up. That happens in real life. Okay, so that's one. Two, everyone nowadays is fucking everybody and everything moving. So if she's fucking a bunch of dudes, you don't know who those bunch of dudes are fucking to. And you don't know if any of this is protected with or without you don't know what's going on. And last thing you need is to catch a STD, an incurable one at that. Okay? So there's multiple reasons to at least be a little, you know, reserved in some senses. Because, you know, if men are going to sleep around and be praised for it, women should go and do the same. I mean, that's one way to look at it. Yeah, that's the stupid way to look at it. The other side of the coin will argue that, yes, men can sleep around, but women can't. You know, locks and keys and all that jazz. But that isn't exactly it either. You can argue that men and women view sex differently. Not argue, that's pretty much observable reality. You don't need scientists and studies and, okay guys, do this thing. We want to see how you can see it just from living life. If you take the rose-colored glasses off and look at how people react and who does what in what situations, you can plainly see men and women react to sex differently. You can argue men and women view sex differently, and men can sleep around and not develop emotional attachments, but that line of thinking only gets you so far. While men and women might be experiencing this issue from different angles, it doesn't change one simple fact that nobody seems to consider. Self-respecting women don't want a promiscuous man either. Yes and no. So this is one of the things that Jacked and Stack talked about and other guys talk about, and I think they're kind of missing the point. This is where the nuance has to kick in. There is no, I would say, if a woman know you fucked 10 girls, and if a woman knows 10 women want to fuck you, I think the difference in her view of you is negligible at best. Okay, because you are wanted. The point is that you're wanted, not that you're closing the deal with 10 women, but the fact that all these women desire you. It's more about other women desiring you. Now, if it gets around that you're good in bed, that'll add some points, obviously. But at the base level, if one guy had sex with 20 women, or if those 20 women wanted to have sex with him, he just hasn't done it for whatever reason, that woman that knows that will still look at you basically in the same way. Okay, so I'm not gonna say they don't want a promiscuous man, but I'm just saying that the promiscuity isn't directly part of it. It's really more about the fact that many women want you. She's looking for a man to date seriously. Why would she want a man with a track record of using and leaving other women? Why would she want a man with 50 or 100 or 500 previous partners, most of whom he doesn't even remember? Because she thinks that she'll be the memorable one, just like all the others did. She wants to feel like she can conquer the fact that, you know, she was able to get him to settle down, just like with the classic drug dealer. Yeah, she's with the drug dealer, she's all turned on, but she's gonna get him to change. He's still gonna be the exciting bad boy, but she's gonna tame him a little bit. Okay, so that's really what that comes down. Why would she want a man who views sex so distinctly separate from love that he gives his body away as if sex were just a handshake? Why would she want that? I mean, I would agree. To a degree. I would agree to a degree. They might feel like kind of threatened by a guy that can't control himself. So in a long-term relationship, it doesn't mean that she doesn't want that man sexually or she isn't aroused or attracted to him, but to actually have a long-term relationship, I would agree that they kind of look at those guys as not viable. Okay, and we have to separate the two. Just because a woman wants this guy doesn't mean that she, especially when she gets older and wiser, thinks that that guy is good for her in the long run. Especially if she plans on having kids and whatnot. Yeah. If she hopes to have a relatively long-term relationship with this man, wouldn't she want to know that he's capable of loving her? It's not really about the loving part. I mean, you know if a guy loves you. It's really about, one, most girls probably know you're going to step out at some point, but just don't do it too much, and don't do it to the point where it embarrasses her. You don't want her to walk into a restaurant or your place of work and everyone know that you're fucking somebody there. Most women know that you're probably at some point gonna mess around, but you have to do it in a way that basically she doesn't even know or even have an inkling that it's happening. That when he makes love to her, he means it. For a man with a promiscuous, well, first off, most women want to be fucked like animals. Let's be honest. All that love-making shit, that's cool for the first, like, couple minutes. When you get her wet with all the mind games and the foreplay and the I love you, get her lubricated. Then after that, you gotta fuck her like a goddamn animal. That's what she wants. All that, oh, baby. Oh, that shit, you can't do that the whole time and expect much, okay? She's not gonna be happy after that. For a man with a promiscuous past, it is all about more difficult. It is all the more difficult to discern how much more emotional weight he puts into his sexual encounters. No, guys, if we not attached to you, we're not attached to you. We're not going to become attached to you. Unless maybe you're like 17, 18 years old, it's your first girl or something like that, maybe. But otherwise, we know the girl that we like. We know who she is. We all have that girl, 1, 2, maybe 3 of them that we're just like, damn, I want her. That's the one I want. But you fuck a bunch of other bitches. It is what it is. That matters too. And promiscuity is never more attractive than self-control. To a degree, I can tell you that personally. I've turned down women plenty of times. And one time I actually turned down a girl that was coming on to me in public. And I shut her down, told her, I want your friend. And that turned the friend on. So, I mean, that's that's part of it. You know what I'm saying? Have self-control. And I've actually, at the beginning of dating girls, if I had something to do, I would tell them like, look, I've got shit to do. I'll hit you another time. When they made it pretty obvious, like, hey, why don't you come over? I'm like, no, I have to get up early, this and that, da. I would get an apology in the morning and more enthusiasm, because they were just like, not having power over you is a turn on for a lot of women. I'm not gonna say for all of them. I'm pretty sure there's some that, that don't like that. But in my experience, every time I turned a woman down, it made her come at me harder, in the future. Let's see, a gift never becomes more precious after it's been given away to many. Okay, whatever. For the guy, yeah, but men provide a lot more in a relationship, in general. If you're a man, like, not if you're like a little boy, but if you're a man and you line up the things that make a relationship go, the guy is usually providing more than the woman financially. Even in a 50-50 relationship, the guy's usually putting in more than 50%. He's paying more of the bills. He might be paying more than half the rent, but if it's half the rent, he's still paying the majority of the bills in most cases. When it comes to protection, obviously that falls on the guy. In the bedroom, the guy is going to be doing more work. Plain and simple. Any guy knows this. Women are lazy. They'll do like cowgirl for a minute or two, and then talk about how their legs are tired, and then you got to get back to work. Okay, so let's be honest about that. The stereotype is that most women are chasing the chads. That is, popular men who sleep around just because they can. There's just one problem. It isn't true. There's only a select group of women who choose to chase the top 20 of guys while knowing that they can't get a proper relationship out of it. And it isn't most of us. I actually have to agree with her to a degree here. This is the problem with the black pill and a lot of these red pill dudes. The hottest girls are chasing the chads and the ones that are just under that tier. But there are a lot of women that they might desire them sexually, yes, but have no interest in chasing them because they see the writing on the wall. They know it's not going to pay off. They might have seen their friend crying 1,000,000 times. So I would say that there is a select group of women doing that. Now, I don't think it's a small select group, but I don't think it's a majority either. I don't. I've seen too many regular looking dudes in long relationships with women, kids, marriage, the whole nine, and some of which were hot women. So the thing is that it's most of you guys, especially the regular looking ones, are doing what you think the regular girls are doing, which is obsessing over the top ones. For normal, everyday gals, the idea of a one-night stand with a super hot chad just isn't appealing enough to act on. I would agree to a degree. Like I've said before, I would agree to a degree. A lot of them do want it, but don't act on it. I would agree with that. But there are some that do get that 1 or 2 off experience that no one else except her very, very close friends know. I've heard it because I work with a lot of women, so I hear them talk about this shit. Now, some of them don't go through with it. Like, women with self-respect don't regularly subject themselves to those type of scenarios. I would agree. It doesn't matter how good looking a guy is. If he's not relationship material, his level of attractiveness is cut in half. No six-pack is worth 6 months of therapy. I think that depends on the age. When you're a young girl and you think that it's a revolving door of those guys, you care less. But the older you get and the less of them that are making themselves available to you, it is going to have more of an emotional effect on you, because you feel like your time's winding down. You see that it's not this infinite resource that it was before. So every time it doesn't work out, it hits you a little harder. Final thoughts. Normal, everyday girl next door types aren't spending all their time chasing players and jerks. They're most likely looking for a guy who treats them right, has some vision for his future, and has at least a few things in common. Can it be hard to meet people and find compatibilities? Of course it can. But let's not pretend that every girl and her sister are busy chasing the jerks who want to use them for sex and nothing more. Women are smarter than that. Give us a little credit. Like I said, I agree. There are a lot of women that aren't chasing that. Like I said, I work with a lot of women. I see it. Now, I wanted to address one thing that Jacked and Stacked talked about in his video, which was about how men that have a lot of sex lose the capacity to love and pair bond, which I think is false. Like I said, we all have that one or two, maybe even three women in our lives that you look at with the starry eyes. You look at her and you're just like, that. If I could have her. I don't care who you are, there's that woman in your life. It's not that we lose our, and I'm not saying like I'm a Chad, but I'm just saying in general, guys that, get more than enough attention from. It's not that you lose your ability to pair bond. It's that when you're on the receiving end of all these women and you see the duplicitous nature of a lot of them, just start to close yourself off, because now there's like, you don't see the point of trusting, because you see women that other men have put full trust into and they violate that trust with a smile on their face. So it's really more about the distrust. It's not some biochemical reaction after having a lot of sex and you just can't do this. Like, oh man, these bitches is crazy. I can't do this. You can't be trusted. That's what it's really about. But let me know what your thoughts on on the article and what you think of my points. Did I provide any value to you? Do you think I'm just totally off the wall and off the rails? Leave a comment and I'm out. Peace.